some madmen have created a whole new world disorder. Stop these wars before they happen.
Hello and welcome to my video review of Soviet Strike on the PlayStation 1. This was Electronic Arts' attempt to reboot the Strike series of games on the PlayStation 1. Straight away you'll notice like the main difference between this and the ones on the Mega Drive is they've gone, you know, with the full motion video and cutscenes, and what they've actually used actors rather than CGI characters, and it actually works really well because the subject matter of the game's sort of being this alternative war type setting. I like it. I think it worked well. It was a good natural step forward for the franchise to go down this route. And it made a whole lot of sense. Unfortunately, what happened with the game, and I mean, I've edited quite a lot of the footage out for the purposes of doing this review, but it's like Electronic Arts got a little bit giddy with it, and no sooner do you kind of start the game than you start getting these cutscenes. And it was around the time of the PlayStation that cutscenes really started to come in, because the CD-ROM technology afforded the developers the opportunity to be able to do that. Essentially, because they can spool they can spool the cutscene straight from the disc. I mean, this is an example of it here. I'm not long into the game and already I've got a bloody cutscene coming. I mean, yeah, it works, I suppose, on one level to enhance the experience of the game. And it certainly isn't the same kind of problem that it is with many video games today. I mean, they're quite brief. And I suppose they're not too plentiful. But again, it was just the beginning of that annoying period where, you know, it's kind of like with CGI, when CGI first come out and everybody was CGI in everything, and it was just starts to get on your nerves because it's like you're overusing it. And it was a very similar thing with full motion video. But I mean, that said, you know, it was new back then. It's not as annoying as it is now. It was a relatively new thing, certainly for games consoles, because cartridges really, back in the 80s and 90s, the storage capacity just didn't lend for you to be able to do this. See, like again here, I've got another urgent transmission from Nick. You know, it's like, I wish this guy would piss off and let me get on with the business of playing the game. I just ended up ignoring it, and that's the one thing you can do with this, by the way. You can just ignore it, and yeah, it could be detrimental in terms of not knowing what you're supposed to be doing next, or certainly missing some little bonus areas. But for the most part, you can ignore it and get on with what you're doing. It's not like it forcibly removes you from the game itself. So yeah, I mean that's a pretty good thing. The basic layout of the game and the basic gameplay is very similar to the Strike series of games that started out on the Mega Drive. Those were Desert Strike, Jungle Strike, and Urban Strike. So, you know, if you're familiar with those games, you know, you'll soon get familiar. You'll soon feel comfortably at home playing this. One of the nice improvements that they made was having your fuel, armor, guns, rockets, all your supplies and all your important stuff actually visually on screen at the same time. With the Mega Drive games, you had to pause, well, not pause, but go into the menu screen in order to be able to see it. And in the heat of battle, when you've got you know, a few things firing at you, it could be a bit of a pain in the arse, because you were constantly trying to ascertain whether or not you still had enough armor to be able to be, you know, having this stand-up fight. And before you know it, your helicopter's spinning round on fire. Whereas with this one, you can see on screen, so you can see your armor being depleted, and you know where you're up to. The explosions are quite nice, although one of the things I do notice going back to this, how the buildings kind of look a bit cardboard cutout when they do blow up. And I think that was a criticism levelled at the time, but the actual fire explosions are quite good. And it's a bit of a pedantic criticism of the game, to be honest, because the gameplay itself is fantastic. It's a lot more in depth, as you would expect, than the Mega Drive games, but it's still really good. When I don't mean like the lack of depth would make it any worse. I'm kind of getting a bit turned around there. What I'm trying to say is that there's more depth to the game, and so it becomes a little bit more of a slower paced game. That's kind of what I'm trying to say than the Mega Drive games. That's a pretty good thing. Let me make it clear that the game itself runs a lot faster and has a lot more details, as you can see graphically wise, but what I mean is the missions themselves are a lot more in depth in terms of what you have to do, and that's a natural thing, you know, that would be expected, because you are playing, you know, ultimately you are playing on a much more advanced console. But what I mean is it's not got the sort of same quicker, oh god, I don't even know, it's not got the same, like, you could rifle through the missions relatively quickly on the Mega Drive one. On this one you need to be a bit more considerate about your environment. You need to make sure that you take out certain defense systems first, and I'm not just talking about to deactivate an alert zone. What I'm talking about is so you just don't get blown out of the sky even when an alert zone has been deactivated. God, I really don't know what is wrong with me at all these days. I'm really struggling to explain myself clearly. It has a lot of neat things as well that it shares in common with the Mega Drive one. For example, picking people up and dropping them off at LZ's replenishes your armor and stuff like that, and you have to pick up ammo and fuel. And yeah, I mean, aside from that, it does retain perfectly the sort of feel that the Mega Drive versions of the game had. What was kind of bizarre when it came out, it didn't get the same adulation that the Mega Drive Strike games got. And I think a lot of people really expected something phenomenally different. I don't know whether they expected it to be, you know, you be inside the helicopter and, you know, it play a lot more like Gunship or something like that, you know, like a flight simulator. I don't know, I really struggled with the reason as to why it didn't get the plaudits that it deserved. As I say, a lot of criticism was focused at daft things like, oh, everything's cardboard cutout when it blows up, as if that would somehow demean the gameplay. Which it doesn't. You know, it's a Strike game. You know, it does exactly what it's supposed to do. If you liked Desert Strike, Jungle Strike, Urban Strike, if you like those games and you wanted to, you know, play the latest incarnation on the PlayStation, then it more than delivers. You know, it's a fantastic game. It's really enjoyable. there's a hell of a challenge here as well. I mean, it's not simple and straightforward in the slightest, and yeah, I couldn't really understand where the criticism was coming from, why there seemed to be not a hatred but an apathy towards it. I mean, it wasn't getting rubbish marks or anything like that. It just appeared that it was like, a 6, 7 out of 10 game, and I think it deserved a lot more than that. I mean, as I understand, well, I know there was a sequel to this called Nuclear Strike, but I don't know. I just thought it was. I thought it did exactly what it was supposed to do, and it did it very, very well, and it was a very enjoyable game to play. It had a few niggles in it, but there was nothing. There was nothing that would make it an average game. It was excellent. It still remains excellent. I still like playing it today. Really, it's because there's been a severe absence of Strike games since this come out. Well, since Nuclear Strike come out, there seems to have been no interest at all from Electronic Arts in rebooting the franchise, and I think possibly because these days it would end up being more like a flight sim. It'd probably be, like an Ace Combat but with helicopters or something ridiculous like that. And I really hope, I know EA have been looking at rebooting some of their older franchises like Road Rash, and hopefully this is going to be included, but I really hope they don't go down the path of taking it away from this. I would much rather them not do anything and leave the Strike series alone than for them to change it completely and make it, some kind of an appalling flight sim type game, because that's not what it was about. It was about blowing the shit out of absolutely everything, and that's what made it so enjoyable. It had that frenetic action to it that you don't really get with a flight sim. I don't want to be spending hours flying around trying to find a dot on a map and then launch a missile at it from half a mile away and complete the mission. I want to be up close and personal like this. Make it like this, but with next gen graphics, or current gen graphics. That would be awesome. You don't have to go down the path of ultimate realism for absolutely everything. There's no reason why they can't make it a high definition, high res game, but retain the same kind of gameplay as this. That would be fantastic. That would be just what the Doctor ordered. I would really, really, really love that if they did that. So, going back to this game, I think the basic storyline is it's some kind of breakaway Soviet wannabe republic type of thing that's trying to take over the world and generally be naughty and nasty, and because you can't go into a full-scale war, you end up sort of being used, well, not used, but you sort of end up being sent out there to put down this uprising, kind of like a Black Ops type operation. You're part of a team called Strike Network or something like that, and your job is to go in there. Like the guy says at the beginning, war isn't like what it used to be, No. If ever there was prophetic words ever uttered in a video game, that was probably it. War definitely isn't like it used to be. I'm not going to go into that though. I'm not going to go all political reviewing a video game, but yeah, definitely they were definite prophetic words. And it, yeah, you're part of this Strike network, and the objective is to go out there and to I don't think I should have blown that up, should I? The friendly HQ I've just vaporized. Yeah, you got to go out there and put down the terrorist madmen and general nasty people, and do it without triggering off a third world war. Although quite how that would be the case when I'm blowing everything up in sight is a mystery to me. But hey, you know, it's only a video game when all's said and done. So yeah, there's a lot of enjoyable things. That there's a lot of challenging missions, like I've already said, in Soviet Strike, and it's well worth checking out. Sometimes you know you have to make that decision. You have to break off a mission and try and do a little side mission, like here, it's blowing the crap out of these tanks in order to stop them reinforcing the terrorists in the docks. Part of the plan, of course, wasn't me being shot down either. But that happens quite a lot when you first start playing the game. Even with the armour representative on the screen, you will come across some tanks that have rapid fire anti-aircraft guns, and they can be a real pain in the arse. You avoid them at all costs. Get your Sidewinder missiles after them, that's what I say. That's the point as well. You do actually have one more series of missiles. You have Sidewinders, Hellfires and Rockets, whereas you only had Hellfires and Rockets in the old Strike game. So you do get a few more, well, you get a few more missiles. The Sidewinders definitely pack a hefty punch, but they're well worth using sparingly for when you really are in the car. So yeah, so that's probably about it for this review. It's a cracking game, it's well worth checking out, and like with all PlayStation 1 games, or certainly with the majority of PlayStation 1 games, they will work on the PlayStation 3, so it's well worth checking out. See if you can get hold of a copy of it. If you know, missing the Soviet Strike series, it's well worth checking out. So thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned to my channel for more.